Hello, everybody. How you doing? I'll wait till we have a few people in here, and then we'll just set it off. Seems like a lot of people came in here today. We got 300 already and ready to go. Much love and much respect. This is Immortal Technique, and this is the official conversation on TikTok. I think that before we discuss this, we have to talk about what's actually happened, right? So, the United States Congress, acting in a leaning fashion towards Republicans, because most of the dissents were Democrats, has decided to implement a 6-month time period upon which the owners, being China, of TikTok have to sell those shares to someone else. This is an interesting thing because now that it's been approved by Congress, it has to go to the Senate. It'll go to the Senate, and then it'll go to the president if it's passed. Here's the problem. It may not make it past the Senate. That's an interesting question. Also, we had an interesting number of responses, probably some of the most responses I've ever gotten to a post. There were over 6,000 people that commented on the post that we had. And for a long time, I said to myself, well, wait a minute. There are a lot of individuals, right, who don't agree with this. They believe that it is, that is just another step in the attempt to censor people's minds. So here's an interesting catch. Today, the ex-president, Donald Trump, has come out and said that the TikTok ban is something that he's against. And he said that the reason that he was against the TikTok ban is that it would give a monopoly. And he's not the only one that has said this, but he's the one that's been loudest about it. He said that having a TikTok ban would give a social media monopoly to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, which is, I thought was interesting because a broken clock is right twice a day. There is something to be said about people that want to criticize TikTok and say that there's a different algorithm for TikTok here in the United States than there is in China. And this is a very interesting point. People say that in China, TikTok is used for instructional and informational videos that have to do with bettering somebody's life. And that in the United States, they teach people how to dance, how to make funny faces. My problem with that is that there's another side of TikTok that has now been exposed. And there is a video circulating of the leader of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, who is a definite genocide supporter and backs Israel 100%. He's basically a mouthpiece for them. And he has been caught on camera saying that we don't have a left-right divide. We have a generational divide, and that divide is shown very well on TikTok. They say they have a TikTok problem. They say when it comes to debunking propaganda about Israel that TikTok has been one of the most powerful tools that people have used, which is also a very, very interesting point. The fact that people who are trying to expose information about, let's say, immigration, right? A conversation that we had about yesterday, where people are debunking mythologies about it. And that TikTok and other mediums like that have been incredibly useful. And I think that a person can explore that and say, okay, yeah, that is true. On TikTok, you see people that debunk the mythology that all immigrants are bad. You remember yesterday we had a conversation about how there are immigrants that fought in the military, that are combat veterans that are being deported. These are voices that are much louder on TikTok and other social media platforms. I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see a very, very diverse opinion about what it is. The poll that I took is literally 52 to 48. So it's stacking up the way that the presidential election might stack up, extremely close. I think that for people that don't like TikTok and say, okay, it's used for keeping people ignorant, you could make that same argument with anything else, though. That's my problem. You could say, okay, cartoons keep children ignorant. They don't teach people life skills the way that they used to, right? Like in the 80s and 90s, people always make fun of the fact that people like G.I. Joe or they liked Transformers. But all of these cartoons had a moral, right? The Rescue Rangers, all of these things that people had. DuckTales, ironically, was about the nephews of Scrooge McDuck that moved in with a rich and heartless individual and taught him to value family rather than money, right? So I think this is interesting because you can make the same argument that the minds of children are being corrupted, not just by TikTok, but by modern day cartoons that don't have any real morals, that don't have a direction, that don't teach children anything. And I think that the difference is that it's less, someone put Captain Planet, right? And I think that people could make the same argument with music too. Hey, man, back in the day, music had morals, that had lyrics. It had a diverse range of female representation. You weren't just have to present yourself as a hoe to be part of the culture, right? And I think that the reality is that when people look at those specific criticisms of TikTok, that's a harder sell to me because you can literally make that point with just about anything else, right? Now, I think that when it comes to TikTok being used as a device to combat propaganda and to be extremely important in the fight against disinformation about Gaza, I think that it's insane to ignore the fact that TikTok has been able to do that. Here, you want me to be honest? I'll tell you something funny. I signed up for TikTok a while ago, and my account was just inactive. And then maybe about 3 or 4 days ago, I started posting on TikTok. And I got banned from going live on TikTok for a week because I spit a verse that had a lot of curses in it. And the people at TikTok contacted me and I filed an appeal and they denied my appeal based on the terms of service. So they do have very strict terms of service. And I think that when people say, oh, they just let you say anything there. No, they don't let you say anything there. That's not true. They will ban you for violating the terms of service. But the question then becomes, if you openly criticize the Chinese government, is it somehow used to then lower your views and change the algorithm? That's an interesting threat, and that's an interesting accusation, because this week, dozens of pro-Palestinian activists have accused Elon Musk, who is not an unpolitical figure now. You have to say this. He's not a middle of the road guy trying to figure it out for the rest of for the rest of mankind. Elon Musk is a right winger, a right wing hack. So when people are on Twitter/X and they're saying, "Hey, you're accusing TikTok of censoring anything that has to do with China. What about the fact that you censor anything having to do with Palestine and Israel? How come you do the same thing that you're accusing TikTok of here on Twitter?" So I think then the question becomes, whose propaganda do you want to believe? That's what the real question is. Would you rather believe propaganda coming from a country that gives you a more diverse look at the world, which is unfortunately what we're dealing with China, unless you criticize that one country? Or would you like to hear American propaganda be prioritized, right? The whole, hey, we're doing this massacre and this human sacrifice in Gaza because everything started on October 7th. Is that what you want to hear? I think that's the point that's interesting to me. I want to bring on somebody else. I had a lot of people that contacted me that were like, "Hey, I would love to go live," and I'm gonna invite my brother from Black Sands Entertainment, a content creator and someone with a unique perspective to give. We'll see if he's on here right now. Hopefully he'll come on. It's getting hot in here. Whew. Peace, brother. How you doing?
What's up, man?
How you been?
Just chilling.
Okay, this is the brother from Black Sands Entertainment. Please introduce yourself. I know your work, but maybe they don't.
Oh yeah, for sure. Black comic book creator. Been creating comic books about ancient history before slavery and all that good stuff for about 6 years now. Pretty big company.
Okay.
You know, strong in the educational space. You know, for our kids and stuff like that. Not too young though. And we got a whole bunch of big things happening in the next year or so.
Man,
So
wonderful, man. I'm not ashamed to say that I chose you because I really do like your work. I'm familiar with it. I love the comics. I think that they're informational entertainment for children, which present a world that some people don't have a lot of access to, which is the ancient world. And I'm not saying that they don't have access to it, but it's not as available a subject matter as something in the post-slavery era
yeah.
or something in the modern era. So you had posted something about the constitutionality of what happened, and I would love to hear that if you would like to embellish us a little bit.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I know about this whole TikTok ban, like it's not even a TikTok ban bill. It's more like a TikTok acquisition bill,
Mm,
right? America's trying to acquire TikTok, right? Just to straight up force them to sell. Now, the crazy thing about it is, when you're forced to sell, like in other words, you can't operate anymore unless you sell your property, right? Basically, what that does is it lowers the value of your company,
hmm,
right? The the number one thing that raises the value of an acquisition is the fact that they don't need you, right? It's like I'll just keep operating without you, and I'll keep growing without you. So if you're literally saying there's no way you can operate past this date, then your price is automatically devalued. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't operate. It's like someone had a shotgun to your head. So this is definitely basically blackmail. And one of the things that I look at, especially when it comes to this thing, is it's a ridiculously slippery slope because if you try to basically force acquire a company that's a foreign company for whatever trumped up reason that you have, right? Like, oh, they might be angry at us at some bullshit like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's gonna happen is what's to stop Dubai, right? The UAE. What's to stop the UAE from going, we really love KFC. KFC is amazing, right? But
I
we
see.
don't trust the standards of that American corporation. In fact, we don't know if you're really doing halal right in our country. So all of KFC's branches that you put here, that you followed our regulations, and you said billions of dollars just to make sure that you are in the regulations of this nice, beautiful UAE property. Yeah, we're gonna have to like sell that to the Saudis. Sorry, you're gonna have to sell it to us,
Right.
and we'll run it right. We'll run it right for you.
That
We'll make
that's
sure.
that's an interesting point. So other countries, when they accept like Coca-Cola or something into their country, and they say, "Hey, we don't like the fact that America has high fructose corn syrup." For example, if I go to Europe, Coca-Cola does not have certain chemicals that it has here. However, they don't have to sell the brand in order to do that. They license the
Exactly.
brand to whatever company it is, and that company says, "Oh, wait a minute, according to EU regulations, you can't have high fructose corn syrup in any drink for children or adults here, so therefore you have to take it out." But it's not to the point, to your point also, that they're forcing Coca-Cola to sell their product or sell even pieces of their stock to them at a cheap price. No, you're going to take whatever I license to you or not.
Yeah, you
Um,
got to apply. You got to comply to the
right,
regulations that they set, right? Which is what TikTok did last year, right? They spent like 1.5
right, right.
billion dollars in Texas
And
to
then someone
comply.
pointed out in the combo that European KFC is different.
Way
Exactly. That's
different.
he's making our point, right? The European KFC is different, and they didn't have to sell KFC. They're just like, okay, you're going to take the brand and you're just going to change the ingredients inside. You didn't have to do it. So, will this be overturned in the Supreme Court? You
I
think?
100% think it's going to be overturned in the Supreme Court the second someone does it to us. The
Ah,
second another country, if you're the country that control the hell out of it, think about it this way: Microsoft is everywhere in the world.
mm,
What if someone said all PC companies, like from now on, you have to sell your rights in the entire Middle East to Saudi Arabia or something?
mm,
So Microsoft is now owned by Saudi Arabia when it's in the Middle East, right?
mm.
And if you don't do that, then all your stuff's banned from the Middle East from now on. No matter how established, no matter how much money you put into that area, you have to get out now.
Mm.
It will be a ridiculous thing. And then, it will be caught up to the Supreme Court and they'll go and backtrack everything like they always do. Right? It's one of those things where it's like if you remember how the Satanists, like the Satanists always troll the church. So whenever they try to do something like, we're gonna put Jesus Christ in every wall in every public school, right? And they're like, cool, cool. And a statue of Satan. And they're like,
Right,
and they're like, never mind.
right. No,
Right?
no, it's true because you have to allow people, if you're going to express religion, because of the freedom of religion in this country, you'd have to allow them to put a mosque. If you're going to put a church in school, you'd have to have them put a mosque, and then another person could sue and say, "Well, wait a minute, I'm a Hindu. Where's my place of worship? I need a room where I
Exactly.
can worship."
Slippery slope. Slippery slope. Once you put a standard out there, and this is an international standard, you're
Mm,
literally robbing another country of the investments they made internationally.
mm.
You know what I'm
So,
saying?
so
What's the
are they
difference between
trying?
that? What's the difference between that and, let's say, they build a farm? They build a farm in Nebraska,
Mm,
right? And you go, well, I don't like them anymore, so I'm acquiring that farm from them.
mm.
And then all of a sudden, all the money starts drying up. You know what I mean? It's like,
You know what's interesting? You bring up something that I was told, or reminded me of a saying that I was told a long time ago. They said that a petty criminal will steal your wallet or snatch your purse, but a real gangster, right? A real gangster makes you take his money. He don't steal from you. He makes you take his money. So he says, "Hey, you know what? This is a beautiful restaurant. You're gonna sell it to me for $50,000." And they're like, "Well, I don't want to sell." And they're like, "No, no, you don't understand. Um, Papi, you're gonna sell the fucking restaurant. And by the
yep.
way, your wife and your children are on the phone right now. They'd like to talk to you too. They're with my associate hanging out somewhere. Or I'll do you one better. Man, this is a lovely country. We want to buy your water rights. We want to buy your oil rights. And
That's definitely us.
if you won't sell it to us, then not only will we ensure that your business collapses, but the regime of this government will collapse as long as you get out of line. But when you're in line, you'll be in good standing and so then what do you make of Mr. Trump trying to influence Republicans to knock the bill down because he's come out against it, and now
Against
if we
the
understand,
TikTok ban?
yeah, so this is an interesting part. We
That's
got into this
good.
in the
That,
very
you know what?
heart.
First of all, that's really good for one reason only. He's effective.
Right.
Right? I don't agree with
He
Trump with
affects
a
his
hell of a
base.
lot of stuff, but he can make the set. He can make Republicans move a certain way. So
Right.
him being against it makes it a good shot that it won't pass the Senate because
Right.
he's probably one of the like. I don't know, man. That's a really good thing that he's against it because for the most part, all them Zionists, the hardcore, like trying to push this down because
Right.
that's probably the only platform where you can find real content from around the world
Mm.
about global issues, right? It's like
Right.
it's like I can't find that on Twitter because Twitter is a trash bin, right? Instagram hides everything. Like I don't get anything, and the people that used to get news from around the world they're all banned now.
Mm.
And what were they banned
See,
for?
here's
Sean
the
King's gone, and Sean King was like one of my number one sources of news for Palestine.
so here's the crazy part that I want to bring up. The reason that Mr. Trump said this, right, is that his take was that if you ban TikTok, you'll create a social media monopoly for Twitter and for Facebook
Of
and
course.
for Instagram, right? And also, here's the other thing about Trump that people who don't study politics as much as maybe you or me or other individuals don't realize. When he ran against Hillary Clinton, he ran on the far left of her for many things, including a foreign
Yeah.
policy, a non-interventionist
Yep.
foreign policy. So in this case, he's doing the same thing. Centrist Democrats and not people who are leftist Democrats have voted for the TikTok ban, and a lot of people in the House that are of a neoconservative ilk who may not disagree with Trump all the time, but they are forced to kiss the ring
Yeah.
because he is the head of the party. They've come out and pushed for the TikTok ban along with some Democrats. And now what people are saying is that Mr. Trump's strategy is to use the free speech agenda going into the election and say to people, look, why ban this because it's going to be knocked down, it's unconstitutional, it has no free speech ban, and therefore he forces Joe Biden into the position of saying, well, we need a TikTok ban, we're being pushed by China, and what he forces them to do is pivot to a conservative position, right, rather than take a normal one, which is what he did to Hillary Clinton. He forced her to take a conservative position on a global scale, whereas with this like current election scale being so divided
Look,
between people, you want to
I'm gonna
crack
I'm
different.
gonna be honest with you though. Like right now, at this very moment, Trump is not gonna gain any votes from nobody. So he has a strong, solid foundation, and it's not moving. But he's also not gaining anything. The thing about Biden is he is losing
Right.
his base. Right? He's just losing his base. He has a wide net, but he keeps losing and losing and losing. It's almost entirely because he won't shut the fuck up. Like if he just be quiet for a while, he'd be fine. He's like he goes out there and says really stupid stuff. Like him saying, "People get mad at me all the time, but you know what? I said you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. I'm a Zionist by birth. Like what the? Why are you saying this right now?
Right.
Of all the things you could be saying, why that? You can't just say, "Oh yeah, America supports Israel." No, nobody would have thought that was weird. Nobody would have thought it was weird. Even people who don't like Israel at all or think they're doing a genocide, no one would think it was weird to say, we're America and we support our allies. Nobody would think that's weird.
Mm.
By saying I'm a proud Zionist and I'm not afraid to say it, what the hell is wrong with you?
Right. Yeah, no, that is an
Who
interesting
says
point. So
that?
one of them is kind of in this deadlock where he knows exactly who his fan base are, and the other guy is seemingly not
He
understanding
has no
that the
clue.
Democratic Party is now hemorrhaging votes. Like in the primaries, I think let me just explain that really quick to my fan base. Oh, so something that's happened here in America for the people that are watching from outside the states is that the Democratic Party has began to hemorrhage votes in lots of states like Michigan, California, Texas, even New York. The second person, the second most voted person, was not another candidate. It was uncommitted. And this varies between about 17 to, in some states, almost 25%. So a quarter of people who were going to vote Democrat definitively and do not want to vote for Trump are saying no because of your stance, because of your rubber stamp for this human sacrifice, for this genocide that we see taking place in Gaza, where you're pretending like you're not in charge. You're pretending like you're powerless to
Yeah,
stop these people
that's
when you
ridiculous.
have an incredibly powerful reach around the world. And I always liken it to this. You've seen the movie The Godfather, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when they're sitting in the car and
At
Marlon
any
Brando
point,
says to,
at
and he
any
says, hey,
point, it could
right,
just be like, you're
and he
done.
says Tattaglia
You're
was a pimp.
done.
He could have never outfought Santino, but I knew it was Barzini. In this case, Joe Biden is like that mob boss who pretends he's not in charge. Although I don't think he's
No,
Barzini. He's more
I
like
don't think
Vinny,
he's not a mob boss. He has the power of a mob
a mob
boss,
boss, right? Right.
but he's a
He's
cuck, right?
he's more
he's
like
he's
he's more like
he's
Vinny the Chin Gigante. You know, he's just like a guy who's pretending to be out to lunch when you're
yeah,
sitting back
it's like he could
collecting
do a
checks.
lot. He could do a lot, but he has no spine to it. It's like he's true. I think he's truly afraid of Netanyahu. I'll be honest with you. I think he's scared of him. I think something's like there's a level of complete 100% like softness when it comes to Israel that is like it's like every single person before him. Freaking Trump, check BB all the time. Every now and then you would get too fresh, and he'd be like, "Nah, cuz."
Right,
Obama, they were fighting each other in
right,
public.
right, right.
Like it's like you can support Israel and still check them and be like, "Hey, kid, who you talking to?" Right?
Mm.
You can still check somebody every now and then. Bush did was pissed at him a couple of times. So there's no precedent where we're supposed to just be like, "Oh, I'm sorry,
No, I
BB,
think
please do not
that
do
that's
that."
a good point. I think what the other thing I always bring up is that ironically, the only people to ever halt Israeli settlements were Eisenhower and Bush Sr. because they threatened to withhold the money that we give them every year, and specifically the money that we give them where we open up the store for them. And what I mean by that is this: when just for the followers of mine that are a little bit younger, when America gives another country aid and they say, "Hey, we're going to send them $800 million worth of aid," it's not like it's just cash in a bag
Yeah,
somewhere. But I mean, we do have cash in a bag. Like
it's a
we do.
credit card. It's a
Don't get
credit
it
card.
twisted. We still put cash in a bag, but the difference is that we
It's a
usually
credit
open
card.
up the store. We open up the war store for you guys. Go back to the main menu. Here you go. F-16s, Abrams tanks, the more modern surface to air missiles that people don't have. In other words, we'll give you a leg up, not on us, but on every single other person around you. They're not going to be able to have advanced weapon systems the way that you do. But I think that in this particular case, I've found that as many Zionists as there are in office, it always comes back to the United States being the puppet master. For example, they are the ones that have now set up this port in Gaza. And what I think is really interesting is that we pointed this out on
Sports
yesterday's live.
is
It's
trap,
not a
man.
coincidence, right? And we had a vote with the fans. You think it's a coincidence that we found like 2 trillion cubic meters of natural gas that's worth $900 billion, and for starters, because we don't know the depth of it, right? They haven't
Yeah,
mapped the internal depth of what they call that Levantine deposit. So if that's the case, it could be up to 1.2 or 1.3 trillion dollars worth of natural gas, and nobody, including the people in this live, whether they consider themselves liberal or conservative, nobody believes that that's an accident, right?
yeah.
We've gotten to the point in dealing with the United States that we don't believe that anything that you do is an act. You're doing this because you know natural gas is there, because now Chevron, being one of the companies that had the first building, first it was a British petroleum company.
I swear to
Now
God.
it's Chevron.
Let me tell you something, man. if they're smart, if the Palestinians are smart, right? What I would do 100% in order to mess up their whole power vacuum, right, is when this does settle down, because eventually it will stop, and then Israel's going to have all hell to pay because everybody's going to be mad at them, right? But eventually it's going to stop, right? And they're going to try to take a lot of land. They're going to try, right? It's probably not going to work, but they're going to try, right? And displace as many people as they possibly can. But I would literally, even though the Saudis don't like the Palestinians, I would be like, we want to be a complete vassal state of the Saudi
Well, the
Arabia.
Saudi government doesn't. The Saudi people
Yeah,
love Palestine. Right.
but the whole point
The
is, I
government
would
there.
literally be like, we want to be a vassal state to Saudi Arabia. We want them to own this entire area, right? And we want to be completely under their direct protection, and that this land is part of Saudi Arabia. That way, one, the oil rights. Saudi Arabia gonna be like, oh, I like actually controlling more oil. Yes, yes, it's like our whole economy. So it's like something that'll help them out significantly.
Right.
Two, it throws a huge monkey wrench in the whole Saudi Arabia Israel relation that they really want, because now you can't step in without messing up Saudi Arabia's money.
Right.
Right, so it's like you said, and just putting the offer out there messes up the whole political spectrum of the Middle East. Say, we're tired of being an independent state. We no longer want to be an independent state. We want to be a part of one of the bigger sovereign
Protectorates,
states in
right.
the Middle East.
Well, one of the interesting things that was floated is not necessarily becoming part of Saudi, because I think that the Palestinian people will always retain their national identity. But what you mean is, if they were created into a larger, like, EU
Yeah,
type field, with them being part of a much larger Gulf,
exactly.
which is actually Saudi's, what a lot of what people are saying Saudi's end game is. They want to be a regional player in the game now that Iran is out, and now that the Turks are definitively dealing more with EU politics than anything else, which I
I
think
don't
is interesting.
think
But
so.
no, I think see, this is the
The
interesting
Turks?
thing about this is
The,
the thing about Turkey. Remember, they're still the number one import and exporter for fruits and vegetables to Israel. They guarantee all the water to the IDF. So this is the funny part. When we heard Erdogan talking so loud and so harshly against Palestine,
yeah,
I thought I was like, wait, something is wrong. So the other day, I discovered that the top three nations that are trading with them are Turkey, Jordan, and I believe it's either no, it's the Netherlands.
yeah,
Those are the top three countries. So I think that in in this position, the Turkish government actually still has the most land and the largest army, which is why it talks the loudest against Israel, but it's actually going to do the least. In this
yeah.
particular time, Turkey hasn't actually imposed any sanctions, or any further sanctions than the one that it already has. But I think that that's also telling that they did not participate. Someone just brought it up here, that they didn't participate in the Bosnian War, because they have been told to sit things out. Now, where as it comes to this, and then I'm going to have to, I'll bring somebody else on.
Yeah,
I appreciate your time, but I wanted to ask you another question.
yeah.
You're a content creator.
Hmm.
You for a lot of people, feel that their livelihood could be damaged, or their business could be damaged by this.
Okay.
If the ban goes through,
Hmm.
what's the move for content creators?
Well, there's a couple of things that TikTok does extremely well, and some things that are kind of trash.
Hmm.
One, brand safety is very low on TikTok. Like for one, I personally have no skin in the game when it comes to TikTok. Like, I'm not biased toward TikTok, even though I'm saying America shouldn't, ban TikTok or just acquire it, because that's ridiculous, right? But brand safety is very bad. Like if somebody decides that tech is now 100% the evil, an antichrist, misogynist loser, and then somehow that starts trending on TikTok, that could be the number one search for your name on that platform
Mm.
forever. Like these kind of videos, and it might not even have that many views, but for some reason they're like the top videos connected to your name. So brand safety, like brand identity and brand safety, very bad on that platform. However, TikTok Shop is freaking lit. All right. TikTok Shop makes people big money. And you can see the money on the screen. It's not fake. But someone says they sold 2,000 books on there, and the store says 2,000 of this item is sold. 2,000 of that item has sold. You know what I mean? It's like people are making serious money on TikTok because people are actually buying product, and TikTok heavily subsidizes these orders. Got me a mosquito. Yeah, they heavily subsidize these orders for them. So sometimes it's like 25% off, and TikTok pays the difference, right? So
Right.
people are making a lot of money on the platform, especially creators who have their own content. A lot of offers and stuff make huge impact on there, where they have zero impact on Instagram. For instance, I see a lot of creators on there who have literally 10,000 followers, 5,000 followers, and yet they probably sold hundreds of or even thousands of books on there because they're treated differently, right? They're a business owner and they're treated differently to TikTok. So TikTok has done amazing for the sellers. Now you have to be really, really big to make money on the just straight up creator side. Like you got to be dumb big, like millions and millions of followers. But from a business owner perspective, or somebody who sells other people's products, you can make a crazy amount of money just being a seller, right? Just being something like that. So it is very much like one of the places. Like maybe for me, I probably make like $2,000 or $3,000 a month on TikTok from orders, but I'm not even trying. I don't try to sell anything there. You know, I typically make like $50,000, $60,000 a month, so I don't really care about that little slice of the pie that much. But to do $3,000 for someone who's like an indie creator, it's fucking amazing. So like that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
so
it pays the rent.
yeah.
You can
So
eat
so
off that. You live off that.
yeah, so for me, 100%, people do have something to lose, big time. And more importantly, discoverability is so much better over there. I hear on Instagram, I don't even understand how we even talking about this stuff about TikTok being inappropriate. I literally, on Explore page on Instagram, is nothing but big asses and animals being ripped apart. That's it. That's all I see. Animals getting eaten up and huge asses everywhere, right? And every now and then a kick to the face by some UFC fighter. That's it.
Right,
I
right.
didn't
No,
click
oh,
like
yeah,
on
yeah.
anything.
That's definitely true.
I didn't click
You go on the search
like on
page on
anything.
IG, you gonna see a lot of booty, you gonna see animals, violence. It's definitely a Roman circus, right?
Yeah.
It's
Meanwhile,
definitely a
I
Roman
go on
circus.
TikTok. Meanwhile, I go on TikTok and I see CNBC, C-SPAN, and other news outlets, and then I see stuff about like science, and Neil deGrasse Tyson shows up, and it's
Right,
like, and I barely ever see any girls with
right.
their
It's
with
true.
their boobs out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't
Right.
know what the like TikTok's way more like like
Definitely, yeah, yeah.
like
And then you
censored.
are inclined to see a lot more violence, naked titty swinging, people dancing, people all sorts of violence, beat up. You make a very good point for that. So then what's the move for those content creators
They're
if
screwed.
it does get banned? Where do they go?
They're screwed, man. Unless they're really good at YouTube, because YouTube's always been like a bedrock platform.
Right.
They're pretty much screwed. Real talk. Like Snapchat somehow has survived the test of
Hmm.
time, and people still make decent money on Snapchat. Instagram is great if you already have a following, but just like me, it takes 10,000 years to grow a following on Instagram.
Right.
Instagram takes because discoverability is damn near impossible. So
Yeah.
Instagram is extremely hard to grow on. It's a great community platform. Like your followers are your
Right.
followers. When you put a video out there, 90% of the people who see it are going to be people who follow you. So,
But it's
you
definitely
know,
pay for play here. If you want people to see something, you have to boost it to people that wouldn't normally be in your cipher or
yeah,
your
because
friend's cipher.
otherwise it's going to be your people only.
Right,
It's a
right.
big thing.
And if you're out there but here's the thing. So I've heard other people like let me see. I think is Isaac Hayes' grandson. He has fan base. There are other social media apps. People that say,
Yeah.
okay, what we want to do is create a platform where you don't have to pay to get all of your followers to see you. So in terms of Facebook, Meta, Twitter, um, and IG, and a few others,
Yeah.
there will definitely be, I don't know about a monopoly, but there'll be a vacuum in that space. And what it might do is give American companies the opportunity to put forth their own version of TikTok in a way that trolls China. Because if you remember, China has a habit of trolling the United States when it comes to what you brought up earlier, which is brand integrity, right? They have their own Disneyland that's not Disneyland. They don't license it from Disneyland. They have a
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse and a Goofy and all that shit
Have your own thing.
in Beijing, right? And then Disney for years has been suing China, and they're like, you guys owe us licensing, and they're like, no, that's not Mickey Mouse, that's like Ricky Mouse or something, and it's just like it's literally like a bootleg Disneyland, and they refuse to pay, and I think that is going to be that's always been like a rift between the United States. They say that they steal technology, but that is a bold claim coming from a country that steals other countries. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So
I think at the end of the day, there really is nothing a TikTok user can do to get out of it. Like go to another platform, or they're gonna make another one that's like TikTok. They can't. They can't, right? You just can't do that. There was so many things TikTok did that were just above and beyond everybody else, period. And I mean, Reels is really good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not lying. Like Reels is really, really good. Because I'm shocked at some of the numbers I get on an average basis. It's way better than TikTok to me. Like to me, my reach and my ability to actually like reach my audience and make money and raise millions of dollars, Instagram is 20 times better for that, for the business owner who actually makes their own product. But if you're an influencer who sells other product, like let's say you're a person who sells technological items, right? TikTok is a billion times better for that.
right.
You want to sell PlayStation games from GameStop, and you want to be like you want to be an influencer in that, so you can go ahead and sell GameStop games or sell games on Steam. TikTok is 10 bazillion times better for that. You will make big bread. But Instagram serves a completely different kind of thing. It's really is a tight community, a bubble basically. You're in a bubble and you have to get that bubble bigger somehow, right? And that's your fate. Anybody who's successful on TikTok most likely will not be successful on other platforms except for maybe YouTube. That's the only platform where they can go where I feel like their skills will translate well. It won't translate well on Instagram. Facebook's dead already, so it doesn't matter who uses Facebook. They're all dead. Twitter is its own ecosystem and world, and if you're not that kind of person, you're not that kind
You
of
gotta
person.
have thick skin. Yeah, if you go on Twitter, you gotta have thick skin because you could write the best thing, and then someone underneath will write like, "Hey, Hitler raped me last night," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Whoa, what? Where is this
yeah,
coming
yeah.
from, dude?" People just
Threads,
write the most out. It's become a cesspool of trolls
yeah.
on Twitter.
Threads was literally a hardcore all in. We're gonna make a clone of another platform, and then it failed miserably. So if Threads is basically irrelevant, right? And it was literally all in to try and take out X, and it literally allowed people by the millions, by the hundreds of millions, to just instantly make an account, right? With one
Right.
button, and they still failed. How the hell is somebody gonna copy what the hell TikTok did? It'll probably take at least 5 years to even build a user base that's relevant in the first place, right? And then Americans are so copycat right now. Literally everybody copied everything TikTok did. Every platform, hell, even freaking LinkedIn copied TikTok.
Mm.
So it's like there's not much you can do, man. If TikTok's gone, it's gonna be a massive hole, and it's gonna suck for a lot of people, but it's gonna outrage a lot of people too. Promise you, people are gonna be pissed off about it once they start seeing the same corny ass stories on Instagram and everybody else. They're just gonna be pissed off that basically they're like TikTok gives you different shit, and the other platform gives you a variety of content. Period. That's it. I go on TikTok and I see 700 different topics. You know?
That's true. So I think a lot of social media platforms are recreations. Like for example, there's the one where everybody's just screaming at each other. It sounds like the party line. Which one is that? Everyone's just talking.
Well, it's like Clubhouse or something.
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, I call it the party line. You know, for the kids that look, I'm an old man. I just I'm aging gracefully. But I was born in 1978, I tell people. So in my era, there used to be something called the party line. And what that was, kids, is you would call on the phone and you would ask, all right, this is the type of people I'm trying to talk to. And they would put you in like a room where you're connected on like, and it was crazy because in my day, like having 3 people on the phone was crazy. But then and you would be in a room with like 10 people and 10 people would be talking over each other, screaming and yelling and da, 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 da. And then we came to a place where we had like the party line atmosphere. Then it evolved. Okay, we're going to share pictures. We're going to share video. Then it became we're going to use video to monetize it. So I guess your advice to people in this 6 months, if they're a TikTok creator or if there's somebody that's doing it, your advice would be, if I'm not mistaken, to explore YouTube and to explore other mediums such as that, just in case it fails. But there is a chance that there may not be a TikTok ban just because if President Trump has enough influence over his base, he can go tell them in the Senate, I don't like this. I
Yeah,
don't like what
and
he's doing.
it actually would help his presidential campaign if he made it a key issue on his campaign. And I 100% don't want him to win, but the bottom line is young people already hate Biden because of his actions, right?
Right,
Right? And then being like, hey, Biden wants to take away TikTok from you, but I would never stop your freedom.
right, right.
I can just see it now, man. There's gonna be a lot of people that jump that fence. Like I don't know, man. Don't tell me what to say and do. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I think it's a dangerous thing to go and try to push that ban from a political perspective and from an international trade perspective.
Right.
People could do it to us if we do it to them. Simple as that. It's like we have
Well,
a lot more international control than China does. So it would hurt us a lot more if people just start saying you have to sell your European branch to us. You have to sell your any
right.
branch that you have operating in another country. You have to sell it to us. The rights. You
Kind of
know?
like a reverse nationalism. I get that. I see that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, my brother, I really do appreciate your time. We're about 10 minutes before we have to close out. Listen, I could have done another hour with you just talking about this, and I definitely want to connect with you on some on some uh on some entertainment stuff because
Yeah.
I just love your work, man. But everyone, definitely, man, big round of applause for my brother, Black Sands Entertainment came in here and dropped some jewels for you. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you
All right,
very
bro.
much coming through. Everybody, follow this man if you want to see incredible content. And peace. Take care.
Peace.
So yeah, I'm in the studio right now. I talk like a normal person. I don't have a lisp or anything else. So if there is something that's making me talk like this, if you're listening to me and all of a sudden I talk like this, it's not because my voice sounds like that. It's because the connection in this fucking phone is a piece of trash. If you come and see all of my lives and all of my videos and all of my interviews, I don't sound like that, you know? So I think it's just the connection on the phone. So I appreciate that. But if anyone's hearing me and I sound like this, that's not what I really sound like, okay? I'm just letting you guys know, and I appreciate that. You know, if I come out with new music, it's not going to be slurred like I'm fucking drunk, okay? Thank you. I just wanted to let you guys know that. Um, Someone said, oh, I was having subtle lisp solidarity. Yeah, I guess it's different. Some people hear me just fine. The studio, sure, I'll give you a little. So as you guys know, Jam Master Jay was a gigantic influence on my career, and that's why uh, Run DMC and specifically Jam Master Jay is the only painting that is up here in my lab. And I just want to say something about Jam Master Jay. He was one of the first people that ever believed in me in my career, and that's why I love Run DMC so much. I'll tell you guys a story since you guys are my audience and you're here for me. You know, when I just came out with Revolutionary Volume 1, you know, I was still just got off parole. I was right out the hole. I was probably 22 years old. My hair was as black as it is now, but I looked a little bit younger, right? I went and opened up for Run DMC at uh, at a warehouse in Brooklyn, and I ripped the stage. You know, I did my thing. I only had like two songs and an acapella, but I made the most of them, right? And then afterwards, I got off stage and I was selling Revolutionary Volume One in a crowd. You know, just hand to hand myself. And what ended up happening is someone tapped me on the shoulder and they said, "Hey, can I get a CD?" And I said, "Oh, 1 second, 1 second." I was just giving this customer a CD. And then I turned around, the person tapped me again, and I was about to be like, "Yo, man, what the fuck?" And it was Jam Master Jay. It was Jam Master Jay. And Jam Master Jay bought a Revolutionary Volume 1 off me. And he said something to me I'll never forget. He said, "Yo, you're a really talented MC." He goes, "You're a lyricist. You're not even like a rapper." He said, "You're a lyricist." He said, "Do me a favor." He said this to me to my face. He goes, "You're already independent." He said, "Do me a favor, stay that way, because that's the only way you get to really use your voice in this game." And that's a true story. Jam Master Jay said that to me. He said, "You already independent. Stay that way, because that's the only way you get to use your voice like that." And to me, you know, it was a moment of affirmation. It was a moment where, imagine if you were a boxer and Mike Tyson told you you were great, right? Imagine if you were, you know, a football player, right? And then your favorite football player, somebody like, you know, Tom Brady came out and said, "Hey, man, you're a great quarterback." That's how I felt it was. And to me, I was just blown away by it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it is. Um, so yeah, me and my father, we built this lab. I haven't put the floors in yet, but I put a bunch of floor stuff in, as you can see. I can't show you everything because there are lots of tools and it's kind of crazy around here. But yeah, me and my father, he's been sick for a little while, but now, you know what I mean? He's pushing through it. And I figured it'd be nice if we did something together, like father and son. And that's why I tell people, listen, I came here in the morning one day out of nowhere, and I just started writing lyrics. I started completing the studio that I was building with my own hands, me and my dad, and I just started writing bars. I don't know what it is. I just went in the morning. I just started writing bars, just more bars, like just like I probably wrote like 100 bars in here, and I was just going crazy. I was circling around the studio, rapping to myself, sitting in the corner. You know, a motherfucker be up against the wall. You know what I mean? And I got that feeling back. And I always say to people, that's why I tell people, listen, if you're lucky enough to have your mom and dad alive in your life, please call them, talk to them. Man, ask them questions about their childhood. Get to know who they are, right? A little bit deeper than you normally did. Because, you know, tomorrow isn't promised. Yeah, Diego, I destroyed like two new beats from Static. And then I got a beat from one of the most famous producers of all time. And that one I haven't finished yet, but I did finish the other two. But again, Static's beats are just as good as this. It's just you won't expect who did the beat for me. That I'll just say that. You'd be like, "Wait, what?" Again, I don't know if it's gonna go on the middle passage. I'll have to see because again, those people they show a lot of love. Yeah, 021. I'm not talking to you. Get out of the chat, bro. Get out of the chat. I love you, bro. You're my man. Get out the chat. um, yeah, yo, definitely had an incredible time. And the person caught me so off guard. Producer came up to me and said, "Yo, bro, you literally saved my life from 2003 to like 2010 because nobody was talking about what you were talking about." And I was blown away. I was like, "Really?" And they were like, "Yeah, man, you did something incredible for me." Um, Diego said, "Let me come to the studio and listen to the album." I mean, I got a bunch of joints here done and I got a bunch of new stuff done. Um, But again, just a quick announcement because I'm about to have to get on here. Get off of here. I'll be opening up for Bone Thugs and Harmony in May and in June. I'm gonna do a couple of shows with them. So to all the fans of Bone Thugs, their people hit me up and they were looking for an opener. They were like, "Look, we need somebody that draws a bunch of people. Would you mind coming and opening up the show?" So I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I'll definitely be out there. Big shout out to Bone Thugs. I appreciate the fact that they asked me to come through. So I'll definitely be going there. Um, Always a pleasure. Always appreciate it. And thank you so much to the brother from Black Sands Entertainment. That was an interesting exchange. So, as I said before, if you are a TikTok content creator, you should prepare for the worst, right? And that means that, according to Black Sands, and actually a couple of other people hit me up in the chat and said to me, "Yeah, we're planning to move to YouTube if the TikTok ban goes through." So if the TikTok ban goes through, to everybody that watches this show and loves TikTok, or you're a content creator, the message is start doing and start ramping up your YouTube channel now, right? Which is what I'm going to start doing. So I'm just announcing to you guys that I'll do a live on YouTube on the Immortal Technique channel on YouTube in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to try to set up this studio. Um, just so you guys can see exactly what we're dealing with, and I'll broadcast from here too. Someone said, "Would you go to Rumble?" Yeah, I'll go wherever, man. I'm fine. It's just crazy that the moment I got on TikTok, they're talking about banning it. Now, I think it's interesting to see that Mr. Trump is going to use this as an issue for free speech, and he's going to outflank Mr. Biden on the left because there are so many people that are against this content creation. And also, he has the ability to say, "Hey, I can change this." So it's interesting. The person, Gabriella Tran, said, "Let's go, Brandon," which means fuck Joe Biden, um, down with China and Russia. But here's the problem, Gabby. Uh, if you are a conservative and you like Trump, Trump is now coming out and saying he's against the ban from TikTok. So I think that puts you in a weird place, doesn't it? And other people that support right wing politics, because as much as you hate TikTok and you think it's a device for China, former President Trump has come out today and said that he'll oppose Joe Biden and he'll push other uh, other conservatives and Republicans in the Senate to veto the bill before it gets to Biden. In other words, Mr. Biden won't even be able to touch it if Mr. Trump is capable of influencing all of those senators. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, listen, man, uh, you guys are stupid. Somebody said, "Hey, go to OnlyFans, go to Snapchat." You guys are hysterical. Someone said you got to be as mean to the girl right wingers as you are to the. Listen, I'm mean to people who are fake leftists, the right wing freaks. We're an equal opportunity employer here, right? Because I always tell people that Mr. Obama made spineless liberals feel like they were fucking Che Guevara, right? And Mr. Trump made stupid people feel smart, right? You're not a doctor. You're giving people medical advice. You don't know shit about the world. You can't find Afghanistan on a map, and you think you think you're a fucking foreign policy expert, right? Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? It's funny like that. Revolutionary Volume 3. Hey man, if I can give you the middle passage, I'll definitely give you some version of Revolutionary Volume 3. Nino Bless, shout to you, brother. Yeah, I'll do a YouTube live show as well. That would be actually really cool. If I could do a YouTube live show like a tiny desk. On my own here in my own lab. So I appreciate that. Listen, We're gonna make that happen, man. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Much respect. Um, Please tell me where you're from. I'll shout you out, and then we'll close out like that. If I don't just get cut off, because it looks like I'm about to get cut off. But I appreciate you guys. I'll save the live, and then I'll bring us I'll bring us back just to say goodbye. I'll have an insomnia session tonight for the people